I want to talk more about the ideal narcissist. I just call them the ideal narcissist because in my view they represent the best case scenario. And why I want to talk about them is because they don't fit a traditional model. That you can have a long-term relationship with somebody that has a high level of intelligence, high level of cognitive empathy, and has elected to model themselves after a really strong ideal, somebody that wants to make a difference for people, somebody that chooses a career path to make a difference for people, somebody that is a pillar in society, somebody that is very active socially, and they can appear like ideal parents even, And the problem with these types of narcissists is exactly that they can be 95% great. Like they don't necessarily present like the grandiose or the traditional covert because of the seemingly normality of their existence. But the problem is that the 5 or 10% where they are in an injury from any area of life will cause them to do very, very damaging things, because when they are in injury, they get present to all of the emotions that are from the originating trauma event of their existence. And they will always project that. They will always experience narcissistic injury as caused by something external. Now, some of them have substantially improved coping skills that they can try to catch themselves slipping, that they can improve. I'm going to tell you, I've watched a lot of these types dramatically improve as a function of time. It requires a higher level of intelligence, significant introspection. Some of them have done transformational programs. They've done things, and I think for the most part, they have no awareness that they're narcissists. That to them, they're normal, that they can be married, that they could be faithful. So there are presentations of narcissists that can be very confusing for people, and they can't necessarily find the answers in textbook models of understanding these individuals, because some of these people are cognizant of the trauma they've experienced. They could even be present to their originating moments in which they became the way that they are and even explain it to you. And I've had that. And in that, they seek to develop themselves to be essentially the opposite of abusive people. They can dedicate their lives to fighting causes. They can be feminists. They could be anything. Children protective social workers. They can be judges. They could be peace officers that really have a stellar career for the most part. It's just that they're very susceptible to injury, and they require the ongoing recognition and admiration for this character that they are. And they're very sensitive to things if they don't get the acknowledgement that is nurturing of that existence. And like I said, the damage they do can be very substantial. And the reason why they're more dangerous in some respects is because of how much you care about them, how much you have fallen in love with the good side of them, the recognition of all the good things that they do, their good behaviors when they are behaving, and also the fact that they will appear like ideal model citizens socially. And they may have relatively stable home experiences as well. And they may have the ability to reduce the time frame in which they are in injury. And they may be able to catch themselves slipping. They may even put in structures in their life, friendships and things where they have people that are like committed listeners. Like they'll have other friends and people that they talk to, and they unload toxic bullshit from their life in an effort to stave off injury. That they are conscious in a sense, that they are perpetually trying to avoid narcissistic injury, at all costs, because they hate being that way, that they do feel remorse and regret, and they will apologize and they will take responsibility. They will, because when they are in a slight injury, they will feel shame, guilt, and pain that they project onto you in recognition of their past behavior that they don't have the ability to see in injury fully. You know what I mean? And so it's a weird dynamic, and it can be very confusing. And because it doesn't fit a traditional model through which we understand the disorder, sometimes you might think it's just narcissistic traits, but it can be that this is a high intelligent, high functioning, educated individual. They even studied psychology to some extent. And they've made a deliberate and willful effort to correct themselves as a function of time, that they become very regrettable of some of the things they do. However, what I will tell you is that in instances where they do something severe, they do real betrayal, real hurt, they don't have the ability often to reconcile the significant damage, because it would create too big of a narcissistic injury, and they build up significant walls of justification, and they will maintain a perspective about people that they've done this to that enables them to remain just in what they did do. So often with these people, it requires a reconciliation where you just allow the de-escalation of injury, and you can't really fully address the stuff like a normal, reconciliation, that sometimes it's almost like it didn't happen, and for you, that can be very deeply troubling and unsettling. But it may just be the best case scenario if you have to maintain the relationship. But what I would say, most critical thing is that these people can truly want to contribute. They can want to give you things. They can want to help you. They can want to do all this stuff that would make them feel like a good person. They will get supply out of being helpful, out of contributing. But the amount of supply they need for those efforts will be ongoing, and it can always result in injury at some point. And so, if you have these people in your family or friend groups, and you understand that they might be this way, even if they want to help you and do things, you have to avoid it. You cannot have things structured with them. You can't have mutual accounts. You can't have them on your business. You can't do this stuff, because in the event of injury, anything that they have that can be used to hurt you, they have a need, an entitlement to exact revenge. And in their interpretation of reality, the external world is responsible for how they feel. That when they are in injury, they project that onto you as the source of it. And so the things that they can do in injury, and the injuries can be more severe for them because it's such a violation of the good person, that they hate who they become, but it's like a self-grandiositizing, like a vicious circle of escalation, where the accumulation of guilt as they propagate a revenge event or a betrayal or a smear campaign will suspend them. They can't undo it. Meaning like they've told everybody all these bad things about you. They've smeared you to a point where them backtracking on what they did would violate their ideal, that they can't contest with that even if they may feel remorse or have some semblance of awareness, which they do, they have to hold on to it because they told everybody, because they did this, because they did that, because they hurt you. And so they will try to re-idealize themselves and not confront the ownership of their own behavior. So there are best case scenario narcissists, and you still have to protect yourself from them. And as a survivor of these types of relationships, it can be very troubling, because you'll just see all these shining examples of all the good things that they did do and all the good things that they do in society, and who they are at church and who they are at work, and everybody seems to love them. And it's not necessarily a beguiling mask, that this is their best effort at authenticity, that they really want to be that person, like they truly do. And there may be something where they did at some point connect to a higher self a little bit. So you have to still protect yourself, though. So that's why I'm bringing that up, is that would represent the best case scenario and still can destroy you.